Hi, and welcome to the Fabulous Cancer Podcast. Today I'll be talking to Casey, also known as the Happier Hustle, and we're going to talk about being a free time cancer survivor and learning to hit survivors their goal post cancer with yoga. So, thank you so much for joining the podcast. I'm really happy to have you here.
Thank
uh,
you. I'm really grateful that you invited me on.
yeah, I'm really excited to talk to you. Would you like to introduce yourself, like who you are, where you're from?
Yeah, so my name is Casey. I'm at the Happier Hustle, and I am living in the States. I'm in Southern California right now, originally from Chicago, and I am a three-time cancer survivor.
Oh wow. And yeah, you said, and I read that you survived cancer 3 times. Which kind of cancers did you have?
I had acute lymphoblastic leukemia, and I kept relapsing for about 4 years straight, 4 or 5 years straight. And it was quite an adventure.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was diagnosed 2/14/2014 and on Valentine's Day and
Oh my God.
immediately hospitalized and started treatment for leukemia and had I was 7 weeks done with treatment and relapsed, went back into the hospital for about 2 months straight. And then we tried a couple of immunotherapies. One didn't work. I was supposed to go on a clinical trial. They canceled the clinical trial. And then I had to write a letter of compassion to the FDA and to the drug manufacturer Pfizer to release this experimental immunotherapy that was not even treating leukemia at the time,
Mm.
because they were basically like out of options, and they were like, well, there's another clinical trial you could go on, but unfortunately it's full, so this is our only other option right now. And so I waited for a month, and they finally approved it. It ended up working, got me into remission, and then I had a stem cell transplant.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was quite a long journey for sure.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine that. I mean, my cancer treatment was like mm, a little bit longer than a year or something, but it's always weird to me when like you have to get approved and like there are too many people for this, like the goal is to save people their lives, and then it's like, well,
Yeah.
we're full, like, what do you
Right,
mean?
right.
That's
Yeah, it makes
right.
no sense.
That is crazy. Oh my God, I hate that. It's like it's so ridiculous. It's like it's not like you're gonna try to get in college or something,
Yeah,
try next year. you know?
yeah, it's not like I'm applying for a job. Like, it's
Yeah.
literally trying to save my life here.
Yeah. Oh my God. And then like a month is still pretty long. Like if you're like relapsed. Oh my God.
Yeah, at that point, they were just like keeping me alive.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. That's crazy. So can I ask like which kind of treatments did you have for the cancers? Like did you have chemo or radiation or?
Oh yeah, I had chemo. I had pretty much almost every single chemotherapy that's out there. There were, I think, in total like 15 different ones that I
Wow.
was on. The cocktail that they make for this acute lymphoblastic leukemia treatment is protocol is aggressive, and it's you do everything from spinal tap infusions, where they straight shoot chemo to your brain, to doing everything in between. I've had radiation, full body radiation. I've gone through two immunotherapies. One failed and sent me into a cytokine release storm, which is basically your body shuts down. So you're basically like your body starts attacking itself and basically shuts down. The second immunotherapy was the one that actually ended up saving my life. And then I had a stem cell transplant. So
Hmm. Oh wow. And I don't know if this is weird to ask, but is the fact that your body shut down, is it part of the treatment or that's not normal?
no, that wasn't normal.
Oh.
So what happened with immunotherapies is it's a little bit different than chemo. So immunotherapy is it's targeted to certain proteins on a cell.
Mm.
And so what happens is it's supposed to, if it works, attach onto that protein and then end up killing the bad cell. Well, what happens when it doesn't work is your body like almost rejects what's happening, and instead of attacking the unhealthy cells, it attacks everything. And then your body starts to shut down basically because it's just attacking everything it sees in its path.
Yeah.
And so the immunotherapy is fighting your body's fighting itself. It's like this weird thing that it basically feels like my temperature was spiking at 105. Like they almost sent me into the ICU. It was bad for about 3 days. And then you just wake up from it and you're like, oh, what was that? That was weird.
Wow, that's crazy. So you just like are
Yeah.
kind of in a coma sort of thing, or?
It basically felt like it, even though I was kind of conscious of it, but I was spiking such high fevers that I didn't really, I was in and out of it for 3 days straight. My husband was like, it was 3 days. I was like, oh, it felt like an hour. He's like,
Wow.
no, it was 3 days.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Oh my God. So, what helped you through like treatment?
I honestly, through the four years, I mean, knowing that and reminding myself that this was all temporary,
Mm.
just coming back to, you know, that I'm doing this for me, I'm doing this for my family, and reminding myself that this was all temporary and that this wasn't going to last forever. Regardless of the outcome, it wasn't going to last forever.
Yeah.
So, and just always knowing that in my gut and my soul and my heart that there was going to be an end, and regardless of what that end was, and that this was not for nothing.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my God. Yeah, that's really I have that as well with I think when well I had cancer when I was 11. But I thought about that too. Like, okay, I'm gonna be okay eventually. And I think that really helps. Like even sometimes now, when I'm dealing with things like, oh, I really can't do this or can't do that. I'm like, wait,
Yeah.
I survived cancer. Like I can do
Yeah.
this. So you're really focused on or like do yoga. I was wondering like how did you start yoga and like how has it helped you? And what? Yeah, I ask way too much, but okay, let's just start with how did you start with the yoga?
Sure. So I started practicing probably over 15 years ago, and I didn't really know what I was doing, to be honest. Like I was just like, oh, go to classes, and it wasn't consistent, but I liked it. But then through like during treatment, because of you're looking for things to help you feel good that aren't so aggressive on the body, and since I couldn't like hardcore work out anymore, I was like, okay, well, what can I do? And so and somebody suggested yoga, and I was like, oh yeah. I almost like temporarily forgot about it because you don't think like you can support your own body when you're feeling like crap. So I ended up finding a organization called Gilda's Club, and it is a non-for-profit that is for survivors and fighters, and they hosted a gentle yoga class for specifically cancer patients. Like the class I ended up taking was more geared toward breast cancer survivors, but I nonetheless still got the same benefits out of the class, knowing that, hey, I can do this gently. It feels really, really good. And so that pretty much started me down that path of like diving deep into yoga and really seeing like how it's just almost becomes like holistic in a way as well with the breath work that you do and just the connection you have with your body. And that actually really helped me after treatment ended in survivorship is reconnecting to my body through the mindfulness that yoga has in its practice.
Oh yeah, that's really good because I personally don't know much about yoga. Like my mom did it, but I like for myself sometimes I do like breathing techniques kind of if I'm
Yeah.
feeling a little bit stressed. But
Hmm.
I was wondering like what are the advantages and like the positives of doing yoga like either during and after cancer treatment?
So there's a lot of like mindfulness in yoga and being in the present moment and not so worried about so much of the past and the future. It's just literally you're taking that time that, however long you're doing it for you, for your body, for your just peace of mind. And there's something about just knowing that this allotted time, no matter how much it is, 15 minutes to an hour, this is just what I'm focusing on. It really, that mindfulness technique has transitioned into other things in my life as far as like a lot of this anxiety that pops up with doctor's appointments and the possibilities of what the outcome of these tests could be have just made me realize like in this moment, like I don't know whether the news is going to be good or bad, but I'm fine. So I'm going to sit in my fineness, in my okayness, my health right now, and soak that in and not worry about what could potentially happen. Because once you hear like you have cancer once, twice, three times, like it's different. Like you get the anxiety level is at a different level. And I
Mm.
think even if you hear it once, you hear it once and you can never unhear those words and you can never unfeel that feeling of what that feels like. And every test that comes up, those feelings come rushing back and they're really, really, close to the surface as far as like, I don't want to feel that again. And
Yeah.
so knowing and just coming back to like, in this very moment, I'm healthy and I'm okay.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
not worry about something that may have happen in even 10 minutes from now,
yeah. Oh my God, that's really good. So that's basically the cure for anxiety, I think, right?
I
And
mean, it helps. The breath work, like I do a lot of breath work as well. And so I think the breath work and the mindfulness definitely helps you navigate this anxiety a lot better. Like it's still there, but it's
yeah.
not as heightened and it's not as like I used to have to take like an Ativan before every doctor's appointment, and now I found that I don't need it as much. And yes, there are occasions where it's necessary, but I don't feel as though I'm going to it right off the bat as much.
Wow, that's amazing. It's kind of like like what I learned. I do like fitness and stuff. It's like really empowering to see and experience how powerful the body is and like how much you can like kind of fix in a way from yourself like with like even the simplest thing like a breathing technique can like calm down anxiety to
Oh,
such an extent.
yes, absolutely. Like it just physically calms down the body so the brain just stops like overreacting.
Yeah, and that's just breathing, like it's this like what we do all the time. It's so like it doesn't cost anything. It's like crazy, I think, in my opinion. It's
Hmm.
like wow. So you also decided to help cancer patients and survivors with yoga, right?
Hmm. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm trying to do.
Awesome. And how do you do that? Because do you do it like online or also in real life?
I do it mostly online, and I really encourage, someone who is going through treatment or even afterward that stretching and moving and feeling what your body's feeling is so helpful. And even after treatment, I think it's even more helpful because you already feel a little like, can I trust my body again?
Mhm.
Because I it just told me like it just gave me cancer. So how can I trust my body again? And this is like you're basically dating your body through yoga again and saying like, okay, I can trust you. That ache and pain is not cancer. It's just an ache and pain. That, soreness that I feel is just soreness. It's just, all those little things that, cause cause more anxiety actually can be thwarted through movement and understanding what is the new ache and pain as opposed to what something that's really needs to be of concern.
Thank you so much for sharing that. That's really amazing and really great. I mean, I feel like everyone is always like looking for some kind of I think like really almost desperately trying to find a way to calm themselves and to focus themselves on like something else during cancer treatment, life after cancer, with checkups and everything. And I feel like what you're telling me now already, even though I've never done yoga, that is like really almost the answer, you know, to that without having to do anxiety medication or something like that. Like this is really good to cure yourself in another form in a way, and like to get even more positive if you're dealing with like life after cancer. I mean, I I mean like what I'm dealing with is like I'm grateful for where I am and stuff, but of course sometimes I still have checkups and I'm like, oh my god, you know, the checkups and blah blah blah. How's my hip doing? And the surgery, how you know, how did that go? And then I really think that what you're saying. I mean, you obviously have the experience that uh, yoga absolutely helps with that. So that's basically, you know, um, the answer for that, and like the self curing bit for that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's definitely something that it's worth trying because it's something that you can do virtually for free. Like
Yeah.
there's so many videos online now that you can just, YouTube something and you don't have to like go to a studio. You don't have to, you can do it in the privacy of your home. You can, there's so many things and there's benefits and drawbacks to doing it just online versus going into a studio as well. But the fact that you're doing it is sometimes half the battle.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Like there's some kind of motivation things, sort of like anti-sport kind of thing mentality sometimes. It's like, oh, I can't be asked to do that, or maybe I don't know if it's a self-esteem thing where I feel like, well, I actually have the ability to do yoga or sports and feel better about myself, but you know, maybe how do you say, subconsciously you don't feel like maybe you're worth doing that. Like, well, maybe I'd rather feel bad about myself, even though you have the possibility to do something good for yourself in your mentality, you know? So I would, I mean, I would totally recommend that. I mean, that's like really amazing to do. I mean, it's basically the answer to a lot of stress and anxiety during treatment and even after treatment, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I completely agree with you. And I think a lot of people would rather self sabotage themselves and sit in their own misery sometimes than do the work that it takes to pull themselves out of it.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I kind of had the same at first with like I have to do physical therapy, but I was too lazy, and I was like, oh, I just can't be asked anymore. And then and I also, because I didn't want to call it physical therapy anymore or like therapy, so now I do
Mm-hmm.
fitness, which is basically the same, you know,
Yeah.
but it's more like it's not like a medical term anymore. And I feel like that's the same with yoga. It's not like oh, it's a medical kind of sporty thing. I mean, it's meditation, it's mindfulness, it's really amazing to do by yourself, and to not have to be attached to something that is called, you know, medical, like physiotherapy or something like that. So I think that that's also like really motivating to actually start doing that and to yeah, improve yourself with that, so you're not attached to any kind of, you know, medical kind of world, um, kind of thing.
Yeah. I completely agree. I think even today, like there's still a lot of stigma attached, negative stigma attached to the word therapy,
Mm.
which is unfortunate. And, not all therapy means that you're, completely broken. It's just, you know, but in our world today, it still has a negative connotation attached to it and not necessarily, and it doesn't necessarily need to be that way. And hopefully one day it won't be, but yoga is, I always say like yoga is my therapy. It really is. Like it really helps me understand my body and knowing what it's doing, checking in with it, being more self-aware of what I'm doing, and using breath to combat some of the symptoms of anxiety naturally, all of it.
Yeah, definitely. And I completely agree with you. And I think that's because with like it's kind of like, well, I don't know if that's true, but in a society it's like, well, we always have to be healthy and never get sick and blah blah blah, and that's the perfect life and all this. And if something happens, well, then you're kind of broken or something's wrong with you or something. And then of course the mental health stigma is there with like, oh, I'm going to therapy, and it's like, oh my God, are you okay? Or and that's the same even with physical therapy. It's like, well, good luck, but even now I think like maybe it should be called recovery or something. But
Right.
right, I mean, recovery sounds better than like therapy, but then maybe like it shouldn't matter at all, actually. I don't
Right. I agree with you. I'm on your page as well.
know. So, where can people reach out to you for classes and get in touch with you?
So I am in Temecula, California, but you can find me on my website, www.thehappierhustle.com, and that will kind of tell you where I'm at. I go back and forth between Chicago and Temecula, California, which is in right outside of San Diego right now. And so, but yeah, you can visit me on my website, or you can follow me at The Happier Hustle on Instagram, and and you can message me and find out where I'm at.
Awesome. I'll put your links in the description as well so people can reach out to you through
Oh,
there.
perfect.
Yeah, so thank you so much for like explaining everything and your story, of course. I really, really appreciate it. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the opportunity to share it and talk with you about yoga. I could continue this all day long.
Yeah,
So,
it's really interesting, especially for me who doesn't know anything, but who, I mean, I've already learned like, oh, this could really, really, I mean, it already is, be beneficial for if you're really dealing with even more anxiety or during treatment or after or anxiety or something. I mean, that's basically the natural medicine for that, I
mhm.
think.
Absolutely. Hmm.
Oh, awesome. Okay, well, thank you so much for listening. I hope to see you in the next podcast. Bye. If you want to listen to more podcast episodes or want to get in touch or join the podcast, go to instagram.com/the Fabulous Cancer Podcast. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you in the next podcast.